OK, but I don't think we can start anywhere else, really, other than with the story that's been dominating news both here and around the world. Last night, Buckingham Palace revealed that the King has cancer. Now, we don't know what type of cancer he has, but it was discovered when he was in hospital last month to receive treatment for an enlarged prostate. The statement from the palace says that His Majesty has started a schedule of regular treatments and will postpone public-facing duties. I think it was quite a shock when all of us found that out last night. I had already left the newsroom, and so I was like everybody else at home when I turned on the telly and saw the breaking news with Mary Nightingale at 6 o'clock. And I think, as all of us know, when you get that diagnosis, either when you get it or someone you love gets it, it's quite a shock. I mean, you most recently had that with your mum, didn't you, Frankie?
Yeah, I think it's one of those things, I think, obviously with him it's worrying as well because he's older and the treatment takes such a toll on your body. You know, I've seen it with my mum and it was such a shock when we found out with her because for us it's not something that tends to run through the family and it really came out of nowhere. And I think for me, I didn't go straight to what will the end be. I straight away thought about how she's going to cope with the treatment and what that will look like for her. And it has taken a toll on her body. Like, she is well now and she is cancer-free, but she... obviously, it comes with a price and it affects your body afterwards. So I think that's been a big thing and horrible to see her go through.
Yeah. Do you remember where you were when she told you about the diagnosis?
Yeah, I was actually on the school run to pick up the boys and she'd tried ringing me, and because I was picking up the boys, I kind of ignored it. And my dad was like, sent me a message and was like, you need to answer the phone to your mum. So when I rang her, it was kind of a bit of a shock and in a moment where I couldn't really, I don't think, properly acknowledge it because then the boys got in the car and I'm trying to fight back tears and just kind of, oh, how was your day, you know? So it did take me by surprise, but she didn't tell us until she'd found out, so she'd found a lump for a while before that, so she waited till she knew exactly what it was. And I think knowing now, I know we're going to go on to headaches later, but because I suffer with headaches, I recently had an MRI, and just by chance they found something on my neck, so I had to have another MRI. And it turned out to be a tumour, which is benign, it doesn't need treating, it's absolutely fine. But for that first week where the doctor had rang me to tell me the results of the MRI...
And you're on your own.
Yeah, I was on my own. Wayne was away. I was in the middle of cooking the boys' dinner, and he was like, oh, we've found a tumour. I don't want to say what it is yet because I don't know. I'm going to have to present it to a board of other specialists. And just instantly I just thought, that's it. Like, this is my time. I'm going to be sick, or I did go straight away to, God, I'm going to die. And I had to kind of hold it together for the boys. And luckily for me, the outcome was it's just really rare. It's really unfortunate. They've only come across it because they were scanning me for my headaches. And it'll be something that we have to monitor. But that week of not telling the kids, not really telling friends or anything like that, I think I just kind of breezed through the week. I didn't really take anything in. So I can imagine when it is, like you would know, it is a horrible outcome. I can't even imagine what that feels like.
Yeah, I can totally relate to what Frankie's saying about you just think the worst. Before I went in to actually see somebody to find out what it was, I'd convinced myself, right, I've got it. I kind of convinced myself of the worst. That way, anything else is better. And the first 48 hours, kind of after I was diagnosed, I literally just went into a blank of what am I going to do? How am I going to? What's going to happen with the kids? What's going to happen with this? And you start putting your life into order. And then after that, I thought to myself, no, I'm not going to have that negative thought. I'm going to switch it around and be as positive as I can while I find out how far along this is, what the treatment thing is. But I can imagine, with the King, the first thing that he was thinking to himself was probably, right, what's going to happen with the family, what's going to happen. There's so much
There is so much.
pressure.
It all goes through your head.
Yeah, and it's like he's doing so much as it is. It's like, how do you compartmentalise that to just slow yourself down? Is he going to be, I think people have to tell you to slow down. You put your work before everything, your health, a lot of the time.
I mean, when my friend was diagnosed with cancer. He's got sarcoma in 3 different places in his brain, his neck and his lungs. And he found out that it was one of 2 different types of cancer on his 40th birthday. And we were sort of coming out of lockdown at that point, and we'd already invited them round for lunch. And they came and he sort of sat, and I remember, I can literally vision him now when he was telling me, and he sort of sat, and I've never seen him so quiet. And I could see what was going through his mind. Our kids are the same age, he's a great career, beautiful family, everything. And I could see everything's going around in his head, thinking, I'm about to lose all of this. And I've done nothing wrong. It's something that's been done to me, that his body has done. And it's quite, I think, especially when you have kids, it's just quite difficult. And he talks very openly about it, and he has always talked very openly with us about it. But it was that one moment when the realisation set in, and he's at our table, and my heart just went out to him. But I did what you did with your kids. I was like with everyone, right, let's just get on, it's your birthday. Let's just, blow out the candles and what have you. But with not knowing if that was going to be the last birthday that we ever had with him. And it's really hard.
Yeah.
You had that with your dad,
The same with my dad, yeah. So my dad was a builder, decorator, roofer, and he always wanted a pub. And finally he met this partner and he moved out to Folkestone. They had this pub together. Anyway, when he got to the pub, he hated it because he thought he'd just be standing behind the bar having a drink, but he wasn't. He was having to bring out the pints and everything. Anyway, he'd been to the theatre in London, and one of his friends rang us and said, I'm really worried about your dad. Like, he's having trouble breathing and he's walking really, really slowly and everything. So I rang my dad and he said, oh, I've been to the hospital, and they said it's just a chest infection, everything's fine. But I could tell by the way he was breathing that it wasn't. I said, you've got to come up to my house, come and stay at my house for a couple of days. So he came to my house, and we had a private doctor when we did Birds of a Feather. So I rang this doctor and said, would you be able to see my dad, because we're really, really worried about him. So when he was in my house, he couldn't even walk up or down the stairs. He was sitting on the stairs and bringing himself down like that. And I'd just given birth to Bobby as well at the time. So he went into hospital. My sister took him to doctors, and the doctor rang and said, I'm 99% sure he's got lung cancer. And then he went into hospital for 2 days, and on the 2nd day, we all went up to the hospital to see him. He never gave us eye contact, so I think the nurses had told him that it was, like, terminal. But the worst thing was he died in pain. So all his veins collapsed and everything, and it was just like, we were all there with him at the time, but it was just like, it was terrible.
I think...
But the main thing is you should talk to people. You should have told someone that he was worried about it, and pushed it when they said it was a chest infection. A chest infection can't last for that long, you know?
Yeah. And I think that's the important thing here to remember, especially where the King is concerned, is that they've said that this has been found early. It's found early because he went and had his prostate checked, and then had that dealt with, and then they found the cancer. It's really important that we do take charge of our own health, and if we think that something's wrong, go to a doctor and try and figure out what it is. Don't just leave these things.
No.
You know, it's terribly important. Well, look, if you've been affected by anything we've been talking about, remember, you're not alone. You can find helpful advice and support on our website.